Welcome, everyone, to Authors on the Air. My name is Pam Stack. I'm your host today. We're proud to be part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I hope all of you are doing well. You are safe if you are in cold weather. If you're in warm weather like me, I'm sending you a big hug. Please check in with me. If we're friends, even if we're not, go to Authors on the Air and tell me you're okay. My guest today is Reagan Pasternak. For those of you who watch HBO, you have seen her there. She's a fantastic actress, but also, I think you started off as a singer, didn't you, Reagan?
I did. Wow. I didn't know anybody really knew that, but yeah, I did. I started off as a singer. I went to musical theater school and, but just so fell in love with the other, just more of the drama, world. So, but yeah, that is how I started for sure.
Now, is it my understanding you did something for Disney?
Disney, oh my goodness, that's a long time ago. I'm old now, but that was my very first series. Was out of college. Was a series called In a Heartbeat. If anybody remembers that from Disney a million years ago. But yeah, I got to play a cheerleader / paramedic. So yeah,
well, that was pretty forward thinking. A paramedic along with a cheerleader. Thank goodness they were. It was an empowering role then, right?
It was. It actually was such a sweet, amazing start to my career because, whether it's Disney or HBO, whatever you're doing, you are there 20. I was working 17 hours a day at 23 years old, playing 17 years old, of course, and it was intense and it
wow.
It was a great experience, actually.
Was it a dream come true for you?
Yeah, actually it was. I mean, as an actor, there's nothing better than being on a series because you get to have a family and, on set, you just become so close in a different way than you do when you're, doing a movie here and there or guesting on shows. So yeah, it was actually, it really was. And it put me right in the thick of things. I had to learn how to be in the fire pretty quick when you're a lead in a series, one of your first jobs out of school. It was intense.
Tell me about you as a young Reagan. What were your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations? Was this something you always knew you wanted to do?
So I really, I was, I love the, people don't like labels, but I love the label introvert because it actually felt very freeing to me when I figured out, oh, I'm an introvert. Oh, that's a thing. Other people are like this too. And so I had, trouble just, being in school and being around tons of people all the time. And when I figured out I loved music, that was how it all kind of started. When I figured out how much I loved singing, and my parents put me in singing lessons and all that. And then I went to a school for the arts and all that. It really, really gave me an outlet for, my real self. And I really never looked back once I found that calling. I mean, my parents made me get good grades and all that stuff. They were pretty strict about that. But I really knew that it didn't matter what my grades would be because that's not what I was going to be doing anyway. So, yeah.
And you're the youngest of 4 kids?
My God, you do good research. I am. I've got 2 older sisters and an older brother. Yeah. Full
now,
house.
Are they creative also, or are you the creative in the family?
It's funny. They're all amazingly creative people, but none of them went into those fields, into performing arts fields and and now writing and all that. But they're all amazingly creative people.
Oh, that's wonderful. Who do you think you got your creativity from? Mom, dad, or both? Or has it been passed down generations?
Yeah. Oh God, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sorry, audience. It's one of those emotional days for me. And so if I'm crying, I'm just a mess today. I'm sorry. Just accept me. My mom, who passed away last year, was really creative. She was an artist. She was a visual artist. She was I still can't.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and we'll move on. You got your creativity from mom.
I got it.
Did you get your love of animals from your mom too?
I think from both my parents, and actually, and then, I also had a wonderful stepmom as well. And we had animals since I can remember. I mean, just full house of animals. I think there was at one point 5 dogs in the house. So yeah. So
you're talking to a cat lover. I lost one of my cats at the end of last year. So when Jonathan got in touch with me, I said, that's it. I know I have to talk to her because so many of my friends are pet lovers the way you are, and we're active in some role. I mean, I actually have a cat sitting business. That's how much I like cats. Yeah. So, but I know, and so it's a good thing and a bad thing this year. We're communicating more online, and so more of my friends and people I know have said they've lost pets, but I know shelters are empty too, because
the only silver lining in this mess of a year has been that, as you know, perhaps that's the only thing that I can really think of, that animals are getting homed. And as you know, if you know pet rescue, you know it's a pretty brutal world out there. And it's just amazing what's happened. I mean,
I'm thrilled.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, there's wait lists now to get new pets, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Mine are all rescues too. And before I lived in a higher rise, I, would feed all the Audis. And my manager used to say, would you stop doing that? And I say, well, I really can't, And when I moved I moved because of a hurricane, because I live in Southwest Florida. Okay. And so there were 4 Audis out there. I got them fixed. And then I just said, I can't leave them. We'll have to find homes. And so I found homes for them, because that's the right thing to do,
You're right. But you'd think that's just so obvious, but so many people don't feel that way, or just don't want to put the time out. And I'm grateful that you did that. That's awesome.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about your film career. You've been on HBO now. You finished wrapping the series, or are you in hiatus?
That one was almost a couple of years ago. I think like a year and a half ago. And
tell me about the 2 particular HBO shows that you were in.
Oh, so I think that one was at first. I did a reoccurring on a show called Sharp Objects. And that was very dark. And I play a lot of those girls you like to hate. And somehow I don't even want to know what it means at this point, because it happens so often. But
because you're like the fair hair, blonde hair, beautiful girl. No one expects you to be the mean girl, right?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's perspective, Pam. I think that's what it's really about. I think it's perspective. And I watch people closely, and I think you can, and I'm always creating characters in my head, but I do play a lot of those girls that are not necessarily the kindest. And actually I've just started a reoccurring on a brand new sitcom that's for BET called Miss Pat, based on the comedian Miss Pat's life. And it was so much fun. And again, I'm playing the woman that you love to hate, and I don't know what it says about me, but it's very fun to play. I will say that.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful. Is it in public? Is it in like, you're doing all of your pre-shooting, or is it actually available now?
It's been in Atlanta, so I've been going back and forth a little bit, and then this is the first season, so we'll see what happens for the next season. And
crossing my fingers for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Griffin. Can you tell me a little bit about Griffin before we get to
Yeah. So Griffin was my first animal as an adult, because I grew up with animals in my family's house, but it is different when you have your first as an adult, because it really is your sole responsibility. And he just became such a part of my life, and he went through breakups with me, and then I moved to Los Angeles with him and his sister. And when I met my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, and we moved together. So Griffin and Cleo came in the car with us, and but he was just my soulmate animal. There's no other way. I mean, I love all my animals equally, but there's something about that cat that he was just my baby. And he was that kind of cat that was like a dog. He would sit on my shoulder, and he would go on a leash, and he would give me a paw. Just a wonderful natured animal. And And then I found out he had heart disease, which now my dog has the exact same thing, which is killing me. But yeah, so Griffin, I found out Griffin had heart disease. He got really sick, and we did everything we could. Took him to every holistic doctor, every, real medical doctor, and nothing made him better. And he ended up dying actually while I was away at the Toronto Film Festival. Wow. So it left me this big hole in my heart.
No closure. Yeah,
no closure. Exactly. And I've been really marked by that too. I'm so scared every time an animal goes to the vet, because I have a full house of animals now. And but every time one goes to the vet, I literally call them on the phone and I say, look, I have issue that I'm scared that if I leave them there, they're not going to come back, and I'm not going to say goodbye. And it's in me now, because it really did a number on me. And and Griffin was a big part of my life. And when he left, I felt like I had to get over it, and that feeling branched out into a bunch of other, insomnia and just anxiety and some sadness, because, not just grieving animals, but especially grieving animals. There's a culture of grief that I believe really needs to change, where you are expected to just keep plowing forward and
get over it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, it's just not how it works. It might seem like it's how it works, but if you don't tend to pain, it just manifests as other things. And I believe it with all my heart. I've seen it with people who've lost humans. I've just seen it over and over in my life. So I started researching a ton about it because of Griffin, and just started learning about grief and how it's actually quite a beautiful thing. And it really changed the way I thought about grief after Griffin died.
Interesting, because when I had to have my little baby girl euthanized, she was 16, and I had never had that happen. I've never had an animal that had to be euthanized. Mm-hmm. It was very traumatic for me to take her to the vet. I have a very compassionate, lovely vet, who, by the way, will be a guest on this show soon, because he's so nice and so caring. But I came home to 4 living cats, and of course you go through your initial stages just crying and crying and crying, and you miss your pet so much. And then it felt so funny to be home. The space was wrong. The energy in the house was wrong. It took me a long time to feel like I didn't have to be looking all the time for wherever Holly was. I know you understand what I'm saying.
It's a phantom limb. That's what happens.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. So from your grief over Griffin, and from observing when people have loss in their life, is that why you decided to write this book?
I get asked that now that I'm doing all these interviews all the time. And I thought about it today before I came on with you. And I just thought, what is the reason? There were so many little aspects that ended up coming together of why I wrote it. And I think how it first started was the pain was there. And I was desperate. I was searching. I was searching for books on pet loss. And I genuinely felt like there was glass in my heart. And I remember just thinking, I was at my in-laws' house in New Mexico, and I remember still feeling like, wow, I still can't function. And it had been months, I just didn't feel normal. And I knew, I was like, I just realized that I wanted to start writing little bits and pieces, writing a book about it. And so it would come out in little pieces, but I'm such a chronic reader. I'm not a great sleeper. So, and especially now with Kindle, all I do is read. So then, so it just all kept, piling up on each other. So the more people I met, the more people I would say, yeah, I'm starting to write a grief book about animals. And they would say, oh, I want to read that. I need that. I'm feeling, sad about my animal. And, and then I had to balance, life and work and all these other things, but I kept coming back to it. And then the more I would read and be influenced by beautiful writers like Brene Brown and people who've influenced me so much, I just started realizing what I wanted the book to be. So it was a long time. I started writing it 10 years ago, and then, I stopped and started and stopped and started. And then 2 years ago, my husband just came out of the bedroom one morning. I was sitting outside reading in my living room. And he said, you got to finish the book. It's so true to who you are. It's so part of you, and you got to just finish it. And so I just sat down and I made myself have a minimum time that I had to write, no matter what, whether I was filming or whatever was going on in my life. I made myself write for minimum 2 hours. Most of the time I went way beyond that. But yeah. And then I just started realizing I don't want it to just be a book. I want it to be interactive. I knew that I wanted it to be beautifully, crafted, which I don't know if I have one here, of course.
It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful book.
Yes, and it has a beautiful, and everything's really high quality and environmentally as friendly as I could do. We tried to make it a keepsake with thick paper, and so that people felt like by the end, it wasn't just a book. It's me and the reader together mourning their animal and creating a keepsake and kind of a memorial for their animal, and taking them through all the grief exercises that I started learning about and started loving myself. So, yeah.
I love that. I have your book sitting next to the 2 wooden boxes of my cats that are gone.
That makes me
and I have one shelf I have a library in my second bedroom. It's all just covered, but one little shelf that is nothing about books about animals. So your book is there along with.
We need to be friends.
I'm telling you,
we need to be friends. This
no,
is like
seriously,
my dream life right there.
I understand it so much. I understand exactly what you're talking about. You're also very involved in pet rescue organizations and pet advocacy groups. Isn't that true?
Yes. I mean, I have a human son now, and so it's slowed that down quite a bit. But I used to be very involved and would volunteer and foster and do all that stuff as much as I could. And then after I had my son, it's, as anybody who has a child knows, it's pretty all encompassing. But I would still foster. I would still, and every time I foster now, I fail at it. They call it the foster fail, and I'm the queen of foster failure.
Who takes them in yourself, right?
Yes. There's been a few that I've rehomed. I'm not going to pretend that didn't happen, but I have. So I have done that, and I'm actually now, my son has become he's 8 years old, but he's a huge animal lover too now, and he's just like me in that way. So I think that we're getting ready. I told him kitten season is going to be happening soon, unfortunately.
No,
but the beautiful part of it is that I want him to experience, feeding the little baby kittens.
And learning to care for something, learning that, that emotional connection to the animal kingdom is very, very important. And I think that it's for their own well-being to have something that they're responsible to care for, to keep alive, to make healthy, and so on.
Oh, yes. And he definitely has that, because he's an only child and we have got a house full of animals. He genuinely thinks of his animals as his siblings. And they are, especially one of the dogs and him, are so inseparable. It's the most beautiful thing ever. And he's just like, it's such a tiny little human family compared to the animal family in my house. Sure. He's definitely, he gets it. He gets animals, and he loves animals more than people, just like his parents. So, yeah.
Pet people, animal people say that all the time. They say, I love animals more than most people. And most people, yeah. My mom, it's funny, was not really a big animal lover. My father was. And then after my dad got sick, he had a stroke and lost almost all his vision. And he had to retire. He was in a pretty high-powered job. So I happened to be in this, when I lived in Miami, I happened to be at this shopping mall, a huge shopping mall. And there was this little ball of fur, a golden ball of fur, crawling under cars. And I scooped it up. I was going to see my folks the next day. I lived in North Central Florida. And I thought, I'm going to take this little baby up there and give it to my dad. And because here he was almost completely blind and, is disabled from work.
Was it a dog or a cat?
It was a dog.
It was a little blonde ball of fluff. Oh my God.
Yeah, a little puppy, tiny little thing. So the puppy grew up to get up in the morning, put his paws on my dad's shoulder and give him a lick. She was They were best friends. It just kind of gave him a new reason for living. He'd get up in the morning and he'd say, "Good morning, sweetheart." My mom would say, "Hi, honey," and he'd say, "No, no, no, I'm talking about the dog."
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think they bring so much joy. It seems to me that that's another part of your creativity coming out. You're a singer, you're an actor, you're now a writer, a published writer. What's next on your creative endeavors, Reagan?
You know what? Griffin's Heart, my book, is everything to me right now. It really is. I love acting. I enjoy it so much, but I really feel like my heart is so pulled to animals, and just the feedback that I've gotten, the reviews so far, because it just came out, but I sent out obviously advanced copies, and it's just really made me realize there's a need for healing in this specific brand of grief.
Yes.
And it's kind of really all I want to focus on now, and that's really what I want to do. I can't even see outside this right now. This was a big chunk of my life of working on this book, and I want to see where it takes me, because I'm so open to whatever happens. I want to create a community. I really do. I want to be a community for people, and then I want to facilitate a bigger community for people who are mourning their animals.
I love that. And it may just be, the next layer, the next portion of your life. You never know how things are going to turn out, right?
No.
It's really interesting. So one of our viewers, her name is Laurie. She says, "Thank you for writing this book. So needed." So thank you, Laurie. And it is true. I read 400 books a year.
Oh my goodness.
I don't get a lot of books that come across my desk about what happens when you lose a pet. And it seems like every day I'm sending messages on Facebook, "I'm so sorry," or sending, gifts or whatever it is. It happens to all of us. And it's true that we do need to understand that that's a natural part of our life. Reagan, tell everyone where we can find you on social media and where we can get Griffin's Heart.
Griffin's Heart is now available on Amazon. And a part of our proceeds will always be donated to various animal charities. And I'm so proud of that and excited for that. And I am at Reagan J. Pasternak on Instagram. And after you've read the book, you'll see that I encourage readers to, if they want, to share their tributes and their stories to @Griffin's Heart on Instagram. And it's going to be a little cyber memorial for people who've lost their pets and just want to have some sort of closure. I want to have some sort of, they just don't want it to just end and just be like, well, they're gone. And I want to have people know that there's a lot of people feeling the same way, and we're all in it together.
And you have a website for Griffin's Heart, don't you? Which is www.griffinsheart.com, correct?
Yeah, we're on it. Yeah.
We're showing all that during this conversation. So
I'm a saleswoman, actually, is what I'm so I appreciate that. Thank you.
We're trying to keep you there. Reagan, thank you so much. I have enjoyed talking to you. It's a tough subject, but you have brought a lot of, I think, compassion and understanding. And for me, who is a pet lover the way you are, and who recently lost a pet, it means a lot to me personally. Thank you so much. I wish you all the success with the book, and I hope your son delights in having more pets. And good luck with the new show. Have fun on that. Okay. Thanks, Reagan. Bye. And thanks, listeners. We'll see you next.